Just Blaze. Oh, baby. Killer. Or the girl Cedar.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to TLC. We are back, and I'm feeling good about everything that's pretty much the same. Everybody in this world probably couldn't have predicted except for myself and Jacob Marshall. All let's talk about Roll Tide. Guess what? The Tide got rolled by a bunch of white people who scream out, T-Pain's all I do is win before every single game. And I'm sure Cam Newton was somewhere in the Carolinas smiling his ass off after last night. A 100-yard return on a missed field goal to clinch the victory for the Auburn Tigers, beating and handing the Alabama Crimson Tide, the number one team in the country since day one, their first loss of the season, and knocking them out of the SEC championship game. It's deja vu all over again, folks. Keep this in mind. Deja vu has returned in the form of now we have a clusterfuck on our hands. A huge clusterfuck on our hands. Ohio State escaped Ann Arbor, the big house, with a 1-point win over Michigan. Florida State completely owned the lowly, pathetic excuses for a Florida Gators team. And I remember in recent memory, even Ron Zook sucked, but he didn't suck this bad. At least they had smash mouth, badass players and badass defense. And that Ron Zook, I thank you for. But obviously, the Will Muschamp experiment has not worked well for Florida. No national championships, no big BCS arrivals of any sort. It's been one of those times when it's safe to say that something has to give, which we will get to at the end of this show. Now, looking at the polls, it should read something like this. Defeating the number one team in the country, and you're pretty much in the top 5, should put you at number 1. So Auburn should be number 1. Ohio State should be right there and number 2 because they actually beat a ranked opponent, Michigan. Florida State should be number 3 because they're still undefeated, but they didn't really look that good against Florida, and that is embarrassing in itself. And number 4 should be the other team that pretty much is eyeing a possible BCS berth, which is Missouri, who beat Texas A&M, came back from a halftime deficit to beat them and clinch the an SEC championship berth, and it was sweet for anybody pretty much who is a big fan of the MIZZOU like me, because I'm a hometown guy, I'm a home state guy, loving the fact that Missouri went from a laughing stock last year in their inaugural year in the SEC to basically now playing a year later in the SEC championship game. Coach of the Year honors is definitely coming towards the SEC. I'm just saying. That being said, Auburn will play Missouri for the SEC championship. Florida State will play Duke for the ACC championship, and Ohio State will play Michigan State for the Big Ten championship. Depending on how those shake up, this should determine who will be playing for the BCS championship. And do not count out Alabama just yet because of the fact that Alabama didn't win the SEC championship a few years ago when they played LSU for the BCS championship, and that one pretty much caused a lot of shockwaves in itself. So I'm not going to pretty much make any predictions, but I'm really hoping that there will be an SEC team playing for the BCS championship, and it would just be the be-all, end-all for Florida State, led by accused rapist Jameis Winston, to basically have a shot at that glorious crystal ball. Now the NFL is about in the same position. Last week we thought we had it all figured out as far as the playoffs go. With just a little under a month remaining in the regular season, we don't know shit. How do I know this? Because New England pretty much just shook everything up. Denver looked primed and ready to clinch a playoff berth and home field advantage last week when they were leading 24-0 at halftime against the Patriots. Fast forward to the end of the game, Tom Brady owns Peyton Manning again in Foxborough, winning in overtime and holding that celebration by that about much. The bonus is that there is no undefeated teams anymore, so the 72 Dolphins can officially pop their corks almost as much as ESPN has been making it rain and popping champagne since Alabama lost last night. it's no big surprise. ESPN is not a big fan of the SEC because they actually have to say something nice about the SEC every single week, and they still got to say something nice about the SEC this week because they probably gave, between them and the Ohio State Michigan game, the Iron Bowl and the game pretty much were the top two games beyond question, beyond a reasonable doubt. Which brings us to the biggest, wildest moments in the history, and it's going to get better. In the AFC, the Broncos are still the front runners to be the number one seed, but they got to win out, and it has to start today against the Kansas City Chiefs. That should be very interesting. Also, when you talk about basically the NFC wise, you could say Seattle is running the table, but Seattle's not really running the table. In fact, Seattle is the team that was responsible for knocking out New Orleans when they were basically defending their Super Bowl crown a few years back. And New Orleans still has not forgotten that, and they're looking for some payback. Something tells me they're going to get it on Monday night against the Seahawks. Travis, that one's for you. Just remember that. The Eagles, Rob, Ronnie, you guys are obviously loving this right now, so I'm not even going to go there. Dallas is the only real big threat to the Eagles not clinching the NFC East in the next 2 weeks. That and, monotony, which has basically been the MO for the Eagles. They get that big giant high and then they just drop it. However, they're not the ones that's in there worried about the panic button. The Packers are the ones that are worried about the panic button because the Detroit Lions are primed to win their first NFC North Division title, I believe, since they joined the NFC North. And the Packers are about on the verge of getting eliminated from playoff contention. Please, somebody hit that button for me. Boom! 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 I'm hitting the panic button for the Packers. Aaron Rodgers better get healthy in a hurry. Otherwise, expect the Green Bay Packers to be out of the NFL playoff picture by next week when they actually come back. Because after that 40-10 drubbing, it ain't looking pretty for pretty much anybody at the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Switching gears and going to the professional wrestling circuit, WWE dropped the bombshell where they have announced that Randy Orton, WWE Champion Randy Orton, will face World Heavyweight Champion John Cena following an altercation at the end of Survivor Series on Sunday night. And the titles will be on the line. We don't know exactly to what magnitude, if this is the resurrection of the Undisputed Championship, but we do know that one way or the other, one of these men will be holding both titles by the end of TLC, which is going to make things interesting for the Royal Rumble as well as WrestleMania. And don't forget, there's a certain superstar who pretty much has been on the shelf since losing at WrestleMania who wants his rematch. And that man is none other than the People's Champion, The Rock. And we know he will be basically returning hopefully sometime around the Royal Rumble, maybe even at WrestleMania, to invoke that rematch clause. So we don't know exactly how that's going to work for him, but we do know that things are going to get very, very, very interesting in the world of WWE heading over the next few weeks. And Authority, yeah. I only have one thing to say. Please tell that twatty fucking cunt, Stephanie McMahon, to shut the fuck up. So that way I can actually sit here and enjoy WWE without having to hear them or her twatty fucking cunt of a husband or the twatty fucking cunt of a so-called monster. Just shut up and just let them fight, because that's the only way it's going to pretty much come out. TNA came up with a nice little concept. They gave us a decent at best Thanksgiving edition of Impact, but it was what happened inside of Impact that's making things interesting. The war between Bully Ray and Mr. Anderson, not over yet. It's apparently about to become real personal in regards to Anderson's personal family and Bully Ray's obsession with Anderson basically killing the Aces and Eights 2 weeks ago. But that's not the thing. The call out is what's the thing. Ditsy Carter, who has been getting these AJ Styles packages from the Friends of AJ Styles video packages ever since Styles pretty much took his ball, his title, and his car and booked it out of TNA without signing a new contract, has made things even more interesting. As, in all fairness, this is good. This is what it's come down to. Ditsy Carter has officially called out AJ Styles to return to Impact next week, relinquish his World Heavyweight Championship, or there's going to be repercussions, whatever the hell that means. Yet another case of twatty fucking cuntalitis, where this woman who doesn't know shit about wrestling is trying to run the show like she knows shit about wrestling. We all know how that's worked out. In fact, the strongest woman I know that pretty much runs wrestling is Tamara from Primo's, and she's been doing a damn good job at it for over a decade, and I'm proud of her for it. Yeah, that may be a cheap pop. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's pretty much real to me, damn it. WCC Brawl saw its bombshells as well. El Cibernetico! I'm sorry, let me try it again. El Cibernetico is the WCC World Heavyweight Champion after cashing in on Brandon Doolan, and Brandon Doolan's got to be pretty much the most embarrassed person on the planet, losing the championship in 20 seconds. Seconds, no less. The Chaotic Trickster was world champ, losing it that quickly, and the Dark Alliance has a new ally in the form of Big Red, who finally returned to his heel roots. And of course, there has been one superstar who has been very vocal about Big Red's allegiance to the DA, and of course the DA itself, and that has been former tag team champion T5, who has yet to be able to find his identity over the last few weeks, but hopefully he'll be able to find it coming up, because I hear rumors that T5 is going to be in for a hell of a fight against another superstar who pretty much is just tired of him bitching, pissing, and moaning and going off at the mouth but never delivering it. We don't know what's going to happen, but we'll see what happens. Tune in to WCC Brawl's Rampage this Tuesday night to check out all the action. And, of course, it will also be on Throwdown. Now, this brings us to the conclusion of today's show with two big announcements. I did say last week that I was going to be filing a petition to have Will Muschamp kicked out of the University of Florida, basically bringing us in a coach with some balls. I am a man of my word. I did file that petition. It has been circling around Facebook. It's been circling around TLC's page. It's been circling around all the Florida pages, the SEC pages, the college pages. Hell, I even sat and invaded Facebook's own ESPN pages just on principle. Now, I'll be still doing this petition. I'll be basically sitting here spending the majority of the week literally sitting here saying, if you haven't signed this petition, sign it, especially if you're a diehard Gators fan who's tired of the bullshit, and yesterday was living proof. If that was enough proof for you that Will Muschamp is the wrong choice for Florida, then I don't know what the fuck to tell you. Get your head out of your ass. And also, earlier today, we pretty much apparently been out of the loop. Late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, it was confirmed by his publicist that Fast and the Furious star Paul Walker died of apparent car crash. Shockingly enough, he was not the one driving, but he and a companion were killed instantly in a car crash while leaving a charity event in Los Angeles. Our thoughts, prayers, and condolences go out to Paul Walker and his family, as well as his Fast and Furious family. I know that The Rock is slated to basically say something in regards to this sometime today. Vin Diesel's already sat here and blown the place up, as well as Michelle Rodriguez and Eva Mendes. This is a very hard loss, especially with the fact the Fast series going into its 7th and we believe final installment of the series, and now they basically brought Paul Walker's character of Brian O'Connell will be kind of out of the loop, but we won't know sure what happens. But again, if you have not heard by now, Paul Walker died last night in a car accident, and it's a very somber thing. We have to basically give bad news like that. But we will say this much. We will be dishing out as much fun as humanly possible over the next few weeks. We will be hoping to dish out as much as possible over this information. We dedicate today's show in the memory of my cousin who passed a few weeks ago, Toriano Robinson. Cuz, I miss you. I love you. Smile up there. Tell my dads I love them. And tell Medea I'll see her soon, but not just yet. That being said, this has been the captain. This has been TLC. I'm going to go get myself ready because I'm going to go and spend the day with my son. I'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Money Money's the motivation, money's the conversation. You on vacation, we getting paid, so we on vacation. I did it for the fam. It's whatever we had.